Hi, my name's Alice and I'm from the Higher Horizons Keel Hub. This presentation today is going to be about 15 minutes long and we're going to be looking at English and why it is important. So I just want to start off with pointing out that this is a really weird time. It's something that our mums and dads have never been through. We haven't seen anything like this since the 19th century with the Spanish flu. And so it is going to be hard to motivate yourselves. And the people that make it through and use this time wisely will really shine. And so it's important to try and be one of those people. If you're year 11 and year 13 and you're finding it even harder to see the point of doing online learning because you haven't got to do any exams in the summer, then just know that you'll need this time to develop certain skills further and you'll stand out because of it. So when you go for that job, when you go for that interview or apply for that degree, you'll be at the forefront and you won't be struggling and you'll stand out. Those that don't maintain a good level of learning will struggle and not shine through. So I think it's important to say to use this time wisely, and no matter your circumstances, hopefully everybody wants a job that they're passionate about and that they really like, going to work. And with every job, you'll need a good level of maths and English and maybe some other subjects as well, depending on the role that you're in. So it is important to maintain a good level of maths and English. In particular, because they come into everyday roles as well as high skilled roles as well. So hopefully this is going to give you some motivation to continue doing your online learning, specifically with English today. Okay, so we're just going to do a little activity to start, to get us warmed up. This might be quite a good activity to do at home in like a lockdown game. It might mean that you get to know things about your family that you didn't know before, so it could be quite interesting. If you haven't played the game before, it's called Two Truths, One Lie. So from these three statements on the screen, two are the truth and one is a lie. And you have to guess which one is the lie. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes just to read through those and have a think about which one is the lie. Okay, so if you take anything today, if you take anything away from today's session, it is that the lie is that the oldest English word is actually town, not whom. So the other two are the truth. So the word lie was added to the English dictionary in 2011, and the English language actually originated from Denmark and Northern Germany, apparently something to do with the Anglo-Saxons. So quite interesting. Okay, so now we're going to look at how English will prepare me for work. So obviously we all do English in school up to GCSE, and sometimes maybe you can think, well, how am I going to use these skills learned in the workplace later on? So we're going to have a look at that now. Whether English is your first language or not, hopefully we do all have a good level of English because it is really important to the workplace. So the first skill is communication. So this is definitely something that we learn in school. The different types of communications in English that we might learn in school is, written, face-to-face, it might be verbal as well. So, generally computer skills, being able to write an essay, things like that. In the workplace, these will transfer into kind of different methods. So it might be that you are constructing an email, perhaps you're doing a presentation to your boss, might be on the phone, it might be face to face with, members of staff that maybe you're supervising. So communication is really important, because it will be used throughout our work career. It is really crucial because it can be misconstrued in different ways. So I think a key thing to point out with communication is that online is really, really, prevalent at the moment. So being able to know that writing a particular status, a blog, the tone to write it in, are all really types of important communication methods as well. Creativity. So what job roles, I'll give you a few seconds to think about this, do you think involve both being creative and using English? Okay, so some of the answers that I've got are journalists, writers, designers, architects. There was another slide in this presentation that I took out, but on it had Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, who's played by Emma Watson, of course. And Emma Watson actually studied English literature, and she went on to obviously become a very famous actress. And so it shows that English really does have a high level of creativity that you can take into other industries. Another example, you probably won't have heard of him, but was Sting from the band Police. He also studied English at university, went on to become a famous musician. So English and creativity really do go hand in hand. Next one is critical thinking. So you might use critical thinking to compare texts, perhaps they're of a similar historical period. It might be contrasting two books, arguing a case, and sometimes you have to argue the case even if you don't believe in it, you're still having to put that point across. So this came up as a really important skill for employers, because it makes you think outside the box. It makes you think more innovatively, and English definitely helps you develop this skill. Some of the job roles that you might find that use critical thinking would be a barrister, when they have to compare evidence, all the way on the opposite end of the scale to a nursery school teacher who perhaps has to support and understand different children's situations and be able to balance them as well. So next one is textual analysis. So a bit more niche, so perhaps doesn't apply to every role, but it might be that you are having to compare texts and look at the different structure of language in a book or in a document, whatever it is. And so being able to do this skill really takes good attention to detail, which again, another skill that employers really want, because it means that you take your time to do the job properly. And the last skill on this page is essay writing. So this is important for so many jobs. Most jobs will require you to write something, but just thinking of the not so cliche English roles that might involve essay writing: a scientist, engineer, accountant, they'll all require you to write reports and essays. You'll have to document your findings, you'll have to show what does or doesn't work, and also explain the case too. So it is really important through lots of different roles and subjects. And when you essay write, you also learn how to construct an argument and write persuasively. And that's used all the time as well in different jobs. So like writing reports, blogs, posts, social media, marketing. If you want to go into marketing, you've got to write persuasively, because you've got to be able to convince your target market that your product is what they need. So again, really important. Okay, so 5 popular university courses for English studying students. And what I mean by English studying students is we know that when you get to we know that you have to study English all the way up until GCSE, and then after GCSE, that is up to you whether you want to study it. So you could do it at A level, and you could do it, you know, at university afterwards as well. So students that go on to study English at A level, these are the popular university courses that they might choose afterwards. Okay, so the first one, perhaps a little bit more cliche, is English, history, psychology, politics, and law. So some of those you might have expected, some of them maybe not, but as you can see, all those subjects will include a lot of writing, and a lot of, you know, a good level of English essentially, and that is why English is so useful to have a good level of, because you can transfer it to so many different subjects, and perhaps something that you're a little bit more interested in as well. So another little activity, just going to leave these destinations on the screen for a moment. They are looking particularly amazing, the photos from inside my dining room. So have a little think about what all these things, all these places have in common. Just give you a few seconds to think about that. Okay, so these are all places that you can go and teach English. So, and you know, lots more places in the world as well. We've got Germany, Japan, Mexico, so many different places, just to name a few. And it's important to point out that English can take you anywhere in the world, pretty much. We're lucky to speak such a popular language, almost too lucky probably at times, because it might make us a bit lazy to not learn a second one. I have tried, but I have failed at the same time as well. And if you've got an English A level or an English degree, you can, you know, go and teach English pretty much wherever you want, because it is just such a sought after language. So we're really lucky in that circumstance. So if you do like English, know that this is potentially an option for you. Okay, so as well as different countries, where can English take you? So education, your primary and your high school teachers might say differently, but high school teachers actually have one of the greatest satisfaction rates. So if you're interested in being a teacher, you could take English and go on to education. Law, so as we've seen in the previous slide, students that study English A level sometimes go on to do law at university. Advertising and marketing, so as we said earlier about being able to write persuasively, it's really important to have a good level of English if you're going to go into a marketing role, because it'll be key to being able to, you know, fit your marketing to your clientele. Art and design, again, we can see on there it says performers, musicians. We already know about Emma Watson and Sting. They both did English, went on to become actors and musicians. Publishing and media, and recruitment and HR as well. Okay, so common job roles related to English. Some of these I'll explain through. We've got content writer, journalist, marketing officer, public relations, a police officer, that one might surprise you, librarian, and some extra ones at the bottom, child development specialist, linguistics, advertising, copywriter, editor. So these are lots of roles that have got English integrated within them. You know, a police officer might surprise you because you think, well, you know, they're quite, you know, I'm surprised they would do more PE or something, but there is a lot of English, a lot of writing to be done when you're a police officer. You have to document everything. So it is a really important role. And public relations officer is working with the public, as it says. So it might be that you're the person that communicates to the public from your company. So you need to make sure that you're putting out the right content, you're, you know, representing the company well, and you're, you know, speaking to people online or, you know, over the phone in a good manner as well. So how will English keep you future-proof? Let's have a look at this one. I think it's important to touch on this because it is a weird time at the moment, and it should hopefully encourage you to maintain a good level of English. This is the last slide, so I won't be going on too much longer. So a content historian is somebody who would look at historic events just like now, and the content that's produced during that time. So we've got our general primary sources, which might be like a newspaper, it might be a diary, it might be blogs on the internet, but also social media posts. You might not think of those as a primary source, but they are. And we don't know, in 50 years' time, we don't know what the crack is going to be with social media. And so a content historian may be analysing your Instagram posts, maybe the captions, or Twitter posts for evidence during this time. An interesting thought, because I would be careful about what you post. Okay, a language revitaliser. I didn't realise, but apparently 4,000 words are added to the dictionary each year. And so a language revitaliser would study the language, they document it, keep it alive. Over time, we know that languages have evolved because we don't speak like Shakespeare anymore. And so a language revitaliser would essentially look into this, how it's evolved, how the dialect has, you know, changed over time, speech, how things are written. So, you know, it's quite linked to a content historian essentially, because you're looking at the past and how things have evolved to the future. And the last one is a brand experience curator. So, more of the creative edge of the of studying English. So each brand will want to market themselves to a specific target market. And so a brand experience curator would basically pull together a marketing strategy that was suitable and directly kind of talking to that consumer clientele, and would attract them to the product. So it's, you know, taking somebody to think outside the box, think creatively, and really understand what it is that the brand wants and pull together a bit of a strategy. Okay, so if you wanted to ask me a question or get in touch about the presentation or anything else, you can go to www.higherhorizons.co.uk/ask, and you can speak to me on there. You'll see my face. On the next slide, there is an evaluation, an online evaluation. It literally takes 2 minutes. If you can fill that out, please, because it makes sure that we still get funding to give you guys content. Just one